Hi, Melody here. You might know me as ApplePie Movement. I am a humanitarian, sharing the conversations with humanity which need to be heard. In today's conversation with the founder of Bluebaire Clothing, a former professional baseball player turned fashion designer, we discuss the concept of blue, building life undivided. So, come on, grab a piece of pie and join our conversation.
Why are people so afraid of speaking out and saying that they want to stand up for equality? I mean,
Yep. Well, and to
but
your point, that's why we're building this brand. I mean, people are afraid to make a stance. It's funny because I have a circle of friends, Caucasian and African American, Asian, Hispanic, all different cultures. And funny because I sit around my circle of friends and I talk about being blue and I talk about what blue really is and how much it's bigger than just the clothes. But it's a lifestyle, and it's fun just to see, friends that I've been with for years, we go way back, how comfortable they are, and not with anything but just making a decision. I mean, it's easy to say, well, I have a white friend, or I have a black friend. It's very difficult to say, this is who I am. And I don't know if that's because we just have an identity crisis in our country right now. I don't know what that is, but I think, you have to make a stance. You really do. And, that's really what it's about, is just making a firm stance. And when you do, and you stand for something, people get nervous because they're not willing to do the same.
so they don't want to change, and their standard of living will have to come up to match your standard of excellence, basically, if you are creating that change. Is that
Sure. I think it's a little bit of that, but I also think that it is, they realize that they will be tied to something. And that's kind of what I've seen throughout my friends, is that, they are afraid of being titled, people who are for equality, or they're afraid of being titled what we would call blue, because then people know that you stand for equality. And I think that that's just, I, it's just something that people deal with, and there's a lack of maturity in that space. And I think that they gotta mature in that area, because it's going to take maturity to really make some change in the world.
I agree. Do you think that there's maybe a little bit of a fear of loss? Possibly. I mean, I understand with privileged groups why maybe they might be afraid to change, because they're thinking they're going to lose, something. But
Sure.
that other groups, you just have everything to gain, right? I mean, why would you be
Sure.
afraid?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of fear of loss there. I think it's a fear of judgment. I think it's a fear of, of not being one of the popular people. I think that there's a lot of fears associated to it. And fear can do a lot of things, unfortunately. It can do a lot of things, and they're not good. But again, when you don't have fear and you step out there and you say, this is who I am. And I'm really pulling back the veil, and I'm letting you know. And I'm not willing to make any adjustments on that. So I think people are just afraid to make that stance.
So you think that some people are afraid of losing acceptance within their own group if they take a stand for racial equality?
I think it's probably a little bit of that, but I think it's also it's just as a fear of just making a stance and confident about something. We live in a very indecisive culture, in a very indecisive world, where it's easier for us to contemplate a decision than it is for us to make a decision. And I think that that's a part of it, unfortunately. And I think like the saying goes, and we said it earlier, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So you just have to make a stance. And whether you decide to be completely racist or completely blue or equal and follow equality, that's fine, but you got to make a stance somewhere.
Indecision really a decision? You know?
Yeah, indecision is definitely not. Indecisiveness is, if you think about, if you try to make a food selection and you're indecisive, how much harder it is than just to make a decision. So indecisiveness is certainly not a decision.
Just saying, oh, I want to think about it, or, let me wait, or, really them taking that pause that is a decision to not participate in the conversation and not throw the weight of their voice behind that conversation. The only way we're going to change is if we do have, how would you recommend we move forward to get more people involved in this conversation for equity, racial equity?
Yeah, so and I don't know how I don't know how we would get more people involved. I think the way that I've decided that I think is the best way for me to do it is to make it stylish, and to make it to where, you know, people want to be a part from a clothing standpoint. You know, we have to wear clothes, but now you get a chance to wear something that means something. You know, there's a lot of other brands out that wear, you know, they have nice clothing, they do nice things, but they don't carry the same weight and the same meaning. And that's, again, back to making a decision, to say, hey man, I like to look good, but I like to say something in my looking good. And that's really what I've chosen to do. I think it makes the conversation a little bit easier, if people can be a part of something. And which, you know, hence the hashtag of I'm Blue too, because people like to feel connected. And, you know, I think that's the route that Bluebaire is really thinking of really trying to breach that subject. You know, on a larger scale, I think it's really just creating a comfortable atmosphere, a comfortable environment. People can have conversations. You know, I think when I think back to the undivided conversations that I had, to make sure, or to have a safe environment where people were free to speak their truth, I think was something that was extremely uncomfortable, but I think also comfortable for people because they knew that no matter what it is that they've gone through, that they could just talk that. And I think that's important too. So, you know, that's probably a long-winded way of answering your question, but I think we just have to create atmospheres and environments where we are open to just be honest and truthful about where we are.
So in order to make your brand more popular and fashionable, what one celebrity or musician, if you could pick anybody to wear your brand or model your brand, who would you love to wear your brand and represent you?
That's a great question. So at the moment, we had Nick Kozer from the news anchor, dancing news anchor. He wore our gear, and that was pretty exciting for us. I think if I had to pick one celebrity, I would say one of the Kardashians. Specifically, I think Kim Kardashian would be Kim or Khloe. I think would be great. You know, obviously they live a blue life. As is. So, you know, I think that somebody like that really kind of speaking a message and pushing the message out there it would certainly be extremely special for us. Just to know that Bluebaire has made it to that level.
You thought of sending some of your clothing line to Kim and asking her if she would wear it or would plug you?
I would love to do that. No, I did. I tried to reach out to her on a message. I'm sure she probably gets millions of messages a day. So I have not. But I think either one of them, you know, if there's a way for me to get in contact with them, I would love to do it. Kim, either one of you guys are listening, would love for you guys to be blue, because again, I'm blue too.
Well, on your behalf, I will tag them in this conversation because I've read blogs that Kim has written since she's become a mother, where now she is very cognizant of racial equity and the need for it. So I definitely tag them. And is there any last comments or departing comments you want to say before we end the conversation?
Actually, the only thing I wanted to just say is just thank you for having me on. You know, you're doing some excellent work. Really encouraged by what you're doing. Really encouraged that you took notice of what it is that we're doing. So really just wanted to thank you, encourage you as well. Continue speaking out and continue doing it, because I think the work that we're doing is definitely one of those things where you don't get a ton of accolades for it, but it is the work that's going to be the most meaningful. So just keep going. Really, really, really wanted to say thank you, and enjoy that California weather. I'm jealous.
I hope that you will choose to be blue too, because Cameron has a great brand. It needs to be out there. Thank you, Cameron, for joining us for another ApplePie Table Talk, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.